This is the Chassidic Story Project with Barak Hullman, podcasting from Jerusalem, Israel.
To become a supporter of this podcast, please go to HasidicStory.com, HASIDIC story.com.
You'll never know, you'll never know, you'll never know, you'll never know.
Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev was once on a journey, and he was accompanied by his gabbai and his shamish. It was Friday afternoon, and they'd reached a small town. And the great Tzadik had a point of never traveling on Friday afternoon. So he told his gabbai and his shamish that they're staying there for Shabbos. Now, a few months before, in this particular town, there was a whole series of thieves, liars, and cheats that had showed up in town and milked everybody of all their money. The way they did this was by pretending to be a gabbai and a shamish of a visiting Tzadik. They pulled off the whole stunt, bringing in the fake Tzadik, collecting money from people, and after they had stolen all the money they possibly could, they fled. So when people heard that Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev was in town, they suspected that it wasn't the real Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. And to make matters worse, there were a few people who had claimed that they had seen Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, and this person who had just showed up in town was definitely not him. There was no resemblance whatsoever. And so the community decided that they weren't going to say a word. And this cheat, really Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, but they didn't know it was really him. They thought he was a cheater. They said, this cheat, we're going to call him up Shabbos morning to the Torah, give him an aliyah, and as soon as he comes up, we're going to beat him so hard, he'll be lucky if he gets out of this town alive. The two attendants of the Tzadik, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, they heard rumblings in the town. People were talking, and they thought something bad was going on. So they went to Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev and they said to him, Rebbe, we've got to get out of here. This town is bad news. Something's happening here. But Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev said, I never travel Friday afternoon, and I'm not going to change that right now. This is where we're staying for Shabbos. Whatever will happen, will happen. I have complete faith in Hashem. Everything will be fine. This is where we're supposed to be. And so the sun started to set, and Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev made his way over to the local shul in order to join the congregation in Kabbalat Shabbat. As everybody knows, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, he had a wild way of davening. He would start davening in one end of the shul and finish in the other. He was known to roll on the floor, jump up and down, shout, and do somersaults. It was quite an experience to watch Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev daven. And here he was, Kabbalat Shabbat, in this town, and he felt such a strong energy. He couldn't help himself. He started singing so loud, and he's jumping up and down. The people in this community, they're all looking at one another, and they said, wow, you know those cheats that were here last time? We thought they were really good at trying to make an impression on people. But this guy, he's a real professional. I mean, look at this craziness. Who would ever believe this is real? A tzaddik behaves like this? This is absolutely insane. It happened to be that a Gentile was passing by, and he heard all this noise coming from the shul. He went over to the nearest Jew and he said to him, what's going on there in your synagogue? The guy said, well, we've got some character visiting our town. He says he's the Rabbi Berdichev. That's him shouting like crazy and jumping up and down. And this non-Jew, he looks in the window of the shul, sees the craziness going on, shrugs his shoulders, and heads out of town. He kept going until he got to where he was planning on going, and he checks into the local tavern, which was run by a Jewish tavern keeper. And as the Jewish tavern keeper always did, he would ask the people coming in from out of town, so what news did you pick up on the way? And this non-Jewish man, he said, well, I passed through a little town, and I heard the strangest screaming coming out of your synagogue. So I went over to one of your people, and I said, what's this all about? He said, there's a visiting rabbi, and that's how he prays. So the Jewish tavern keeper, he said, any idea where this rabbi comes from? And the non-Jew said, I think they said Berdichev. Now in the background, there was the Melamed, who was hired to teach the children of the innkeeper. Even though this innkeeper at this point didn't really keep Shabbos, obviously he was working on Friday night and collecting money, but he still knew he was a Jew and he wanted his children to have a Jewish education, so he hired this Melamed to teach his children. The Melamed was a Chassid, and he had once met Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. It made such an impression on him to meet the great Tzadik that he thought to himself, how could it be that Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev is in the neighboring town and I'm over here and I'm not going to visit him? I have to go visit him. He decided there was only one thing that he could do. He would start walking there right now on Friday night. And after he had walked for a few hours, he had the thought, wait a minute, what am I doing? It's Shabbos, and there's only so much distance that you're allowed to travel on Shabbos. And if I walk to that other town, for sure I'm going to cross the limit, and I will have broken Shabbos. What am I doing? I'm out of my mind. So he stopped walking for a minute. He starts thinking about this, and then he says, you know what? No matter what, if the Tzadik is so close, I have to get to him. I have to see the great Tzadik, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. And so he started walking again. And after a little while, he stopped again. And he said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you think it's right to get the mitzvah of paying your respects to the Tzadik while breaking Shabbos? That doesn't make any sense. You keep Shabbos and accept that you won't see Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev. But then he starts to walk again. He says, no, I'm going there, and I don't care what it takes. I'm going there. Straight ahead. So he starts walking through the night. And it was a long walk. And it was the middle of the night. So he would walk, take a break, walk, take a break, until by the time the sun rose, he was on the outskirts of the town. And he walked into town, and by the time he found the shul, the congregation was getting ready for reading of the Torah. He was so excited. He looked in through the window, and there he sees the Tzadik himself, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, working his way through the congregation, up the bima, towards the Torah. Now the townspeople had been waiting a long time for this, because they were going to get their revenge for those imposters that came before, stole all that money from them. They were going to give it to this fake Tzadik. But the Melamed, who was well known by the people in the town to be a great scholar, he ran inside the shul like a madman, and he said, Rebbe, Oi, Rebbe, I've broken Shabbos. Nobody understands what's going on here. They said to him, wait a minute, what do you mean, Rebbe? Because the townspeople trusted the Melamed. They knew that he was a real scholar and that he wouldn't lie. And he had no idea, of course, what was going on in that town. So they realized that they had made a mistake. So everybody calmed down. But here's the Melamed, and he says, Rebbe, I broke Shabbos in order to come here to see you. Oy vey, I'm such a sinner. What did I do? Please, Rebbe, you have to help me. Reb Levi Yitzchak, he looks at the Melamed and he says, no, you don't understand. You didn't break Shabbos because everyone knows that you're allowed to break Shabbos in order to save a life. And if you hadn't come right now, these people who didn't believe that I was really who I am might have actually killed me. So you thought you were breaking Shabbos. But the truth is, the whole time you were coming here in order to save my life. And when the townspeople realized what was going on, they apologized to Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev and asked for his forgiveness. But Reb Levi Yitzchak, who understood all the way before Shabbos started that this is where he was supposed to be for Shabbos, he said, there's no reason to apologize, my friends. It's for that reason that I came here. I know that these people came in the past and they stole from you, and that was a terrible thing. But it doesn't mean that you have to suspect everyone. You may have heard about my friend, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. Rabbi Nachman teaches, it's better to be a fool who believes in everything than to be so clever that you don't believe in anything. And that's the lesson. It's okay, my friends. Your apology is accepted, and I'm happy everything worked out. And to the Melamed, Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev said, thank you, my friend. Because you broke Shabbos, you saved my life. To become a supporter of this podcast, please go to HasidicStory.com, HasidicStory.com, SIDIC story.com.